Welcome back to part two of the intro to Bitcoin. We're going to go over some of the high level objections that I often hear. The first one is that Bitcoin was created by punks in their basement, some mysterious entity. Now, this is true. Natoshi Sakamoto, nobody really knows, Satoshi Nakamoto, nobody knows who that is. However, what we do know is how Satoshi published this information, the invention of Bitcoin. And I think it's remarkable that it was published as a white paper and as open source software. So anybody with a research background will understand the significance of a white paper. That this wasn't marketed as a as seen on TV ad or with some schmo bloviating and pitching haplessly on the internet. This was presented in a very concise, a very technically written document that was published along with the code for the protocol online for everyone to see. And this has been the case now for almost 5 years. The paper, I believe, was released by Satoshi in 2008, perhaps 2009. Either way, hackers have had many, many years to look at the code, to hack on the protocol, and entrepreneurs likewise have had that much time to build stuff on it. And we found that it's quite robust. It has stood the test of time in many ways. It's not without its flaws, but we've had 5 years of people hacking on this, and so far, so good. The second is the paradox of decentralization. And everyone needs to understand this because it's a paradox, so it's confusing. But what we say is Bitcoin's great because we don't need third parties. And then you go, well, how do you make money? And you say, I'm going to become a third party. And I'm going to go into the third one because I think they tie together very nicely. Is so why do we need a third party at all? And the way to think of it is an analogy between a good pipe and a bad pipe. Ask yourself, why can I send a million emails for virtually free? But if I wanted to send a million text messages, it would cost me a fortune. That's because one is a really good pipe. SMTP, the email protocol, has these special characteristics, like it's a distributed system like Bitcoin that is maintained and open sourced by a community of people who are passionate about a protocol. It is very much a bottom up approach. Good pipe. SMS, on the other hand, is a bad pipe. It is maintained by these large monolithic type organizations like Bell and Rogers or Verizon and AT&T or Sprint, etc. These oligopolies in the telecom industry that have poor centralized infrastructure. That's why the cost is so different. And Bitcoin is the decentralized distributed system that allows us to send things from peer to peer without having to worry or necessarily need a third party. The fourth objection, which ties into the first, is that this was created by who knows? Well, what we do know is that there's some very prominent early adopters, and I think it's important to characterize these people. Who are the early adopters? And why have they found their way to the currency? So, a lot of incredibly smart people with technical backgrounds, either in finance or in engineering, that have found their way to Bitcoin. There's a lot of people who have actually described Bitcoin as having as a life-changing epiphany. And these aren't fools. These aren't people who are easily fooled by fads or scams. Is it possible that Bitcoin is a fad? Absolutely. Now, I would make the same point for the US dollar or the loonie that you would make for Bitcoin, and we could have a conversation all day back and forth about that. So the last thing you might wonder is, okay, so there's all of the objections I might want to handle, but do you have any real world examples? What can I do with Bitcoin? Well, I would encourage everybody to go and check out ChangeTip. ChangeTip is a wonderful service that allows you basically to tip with social media on almost any social media, in fact. You can see that I have $1.84, which is really incredible. People are sending me tips on Twitter. At ChangeTip, I added this much. And you hit the link, and they send me money. And now I can do likewise. I can send money to other people and I can use any social network I want. If that doesn't blow your mind, check out bills. No hassle bill payments. That seems something that I might want to use. Well, what about Broker? Order anything online. That's pretty neat. Well, I'll leave you to discover how it works on your own time. You get my point. There's all sorts of real world applications, and if you visit my blog, you can find those. Cashflow blog slash Bitcoin, and I have a number of links here, including ex Visa executives join forces with Japan's biggest e-tailer to form a Bitcoin startup, MIT undergrads receiving $100 apiece, how to send change tips, how to pay bills, how to get gift cards, charts, and all those sorts of information is available too. So that will conclude this portion. You can get at me on Twitter if you have anything that you want to comment or say. You can also leave it in the YouTube comments. I greatly appreciate your feedback.